Are you feeling scared about that transition from soft foods to regular foods after weight loss surgery? Are you just feeling confused about the whole thing? Are you afraid you're going to mess it up? Well, hey there, my name is Diana Lopez, and I am your bariatric dietitian at My Bariatric Adventure, the place where we guide you as you navigate the twists and turns of your bariatric adventure. And so today we are going to talk about the things that you need to know as you transition from those diet stages after surgery to actually eating real food again. And if you stick around after we talk about that, I've got 2 pro tips for you, things that all of my successful clients and patients are doing as they make that transition. And then if you hang out to the very end, I've got a freebie for you as well. So you've made it through those post-op diet stages, and now you're getting ready to eat real solid food again. So that in and of itself is a victory. So I just want to congratulate you for that. And I know you're super excited for the next step. So let's talk about those things that you really need to know at this phase. All right. So first thing is we don't count calories. So that may be something that seems a little bit foreign to you. You probably have spent a lifetime dieting in these first few months after surgery. More than likely, you're probably only eating 500 to 800 calories a day. And that's not our focus. Our focus is actually to make sure that you're getting enough protein, that you're getting enough fluid. We want to make sure we're preventing malnutrition and conserving your lean muscle tissue. And we want to make sure you're staying well hydrated. So that's where we start. So in the beginning, no calorie counting. You're counting protein, you're counting ounces of fluid. That's where we start. So our next probably big tip thing you need to be aware of is that you start by eating protein first. So your stomach is very small now, that pouch is really small. So we want to make sure that you're getting in protein first to get that protein in to conserve your lean tissue to prevent malnutrition. And so what will work well for you typically are soft proteins. Remember our goal, the minimum goal, 60 to 80 grams of protein a day. So you're pushing through, you're trying to get that. Sometimes there are certain meats or proteins that make people full really fast or just tend to sit like a rock in their stomach. The 2 that I can think of for sure are hard-boiled eggs. Scrambled eggs don't tend to do that to people. They might only be able to eat 1, but usually because of the density, the way we prepare a hard-boiled egg, a lot of people will tell me I can only eat a half a hard-boiled egg and I am stuffed, I am full. So you might find that. So just make sure you're eating nice and slow. The other group that I've heard that a lot from is people when they are trying to eat steak. That steak just sits like a rock in their stomach. And again, that doesn't mean that you can't tolerate it. You probably just introduced it too soon. So things like that, if they make you too full or uncomfortable or they just don't sit well, give it 2 or 3 months and then go back and try it again. Make sure you're taking small bites of that, chewing it really well. That will make a difference as well. All right. So those are my tips for that protein area. And let's talk about the other parts of your meal or your plates as you're putting your meals together. Fruits and veggies. We are encouraging you to eat fruits and veggies. Our goal is to get to a half a cup fruits and veggies with a meal. Doesn't matter fresh, frozen, or canned. Any kind of fruits and veggies, whatever you can afford is really what we're shooting for. And at this point in time, they don't necessarily have to be soft. They just need to be, you just need to remember to chew them well. So you could do, pineapple, you could do watermelon, you could do strawberries and other kind of berries. You could do broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, summer squash, zucchini, green beans, carrots, and you can even do raw of those foods if you want. Just make sure you're chewing those really well. The goal is a half a cup. You might find that in the first few beginning weeks and months after surgery, you eat an ounce or 2 of protein and you're lucky to get a bite of fruits or veggies in at a meal, and that's very normal. So that's fruits and veggies. The next category are other, starches or carbohydrates. Let's call them carbohydrates. So for that group in the beginning, we're recommending 2 tablespoons. So 2 tablespoons, it's about the size of my ping pong ball I've got right here, or a golf ball. So pretty small serving for that. The reason for that small serving is if we're trying to make sure you get on all your protein, carbs can make you feel really full. So that would be things like bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes, sweet potato, cereal, cracker, chips, tortillas, those food groups. Small serving of those in the beginning because we're trying to make sure you're getting your protein. Then we're working around the plate to fruits and veggies to make sure you're getting those food groups in, because that sometimes with people before weight loss surgery, that might be a group that they're not getting so much. And we're using this as a jump off point to restart your new healthy lifestyle. And part of living a healthy lifestyle is actually eating fruits and vegetables. So if you grew up in a household that never ate fruits and vegetables or ate them very rarely, what I would suggest is just trying to find ways to cook them that taste good to you. And you might have to go through several times of trying different things to figure that out. That's not abnormal for people after surgery, especially if you've never really eaten a lot of fruits and veggies, or veggies especially is what I see with most people. So just keep trying. I'll look up recipes for different things on Pinterest. We've got an air fryer. We use that a lot of times for our veggies. I also roast a lot of veggies. Those everybody seems to like pretty well, and I steam them, whether I steam them in the pan on the stove or I steam them in water in the microwave. So those are some basic ways that you can try to incorporate more veggies in there. Just give yourself time and just keep trying the things that taste, maybe they don't taste horrible to you, they taste okay. Just keep trying them until you figure out a way that tastes good to you. All right, so that is what your plate is going to look like. And again, we're not counting calories. At this point, we're not really counting carbs. We're not counting fruits and veggies because we know you're probably eating a couple ounces of protein, a bite of your fruits and veggies, and a bite of your carbs, and that's probably all you can take. At this point, you're doing anywhere from a half a cup to a cup of food per meal, and that protein is probably half or more of what you're consuming with your meals, and if you're doing snacks, your snacks as well. So at this point in time, we don't really worry about it. When you get farther out, we start having more conversations about that. I have actually a couple surgeons, what they recommend is between 30 and 60 grams of carbohydrates in those beginning few months after surgery, as long as you're struggling to get in your protein, and that's what they recommend for the entire day. That's not counting the carbs you get from fruits and veggies and beans. That's from things like bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, cereal, cracker chip, tortilla. So, but if you follow our guidelines, you're on the same track and you don't have to do all that tracking and stuff like that. All right. So that's where we are with those other macronutrients in your diet. Oh, and the other one's fat. So fat, we want you to use sparingly as a flavor enhancer. So 1 to 3 teaspoons of fat per meal. And again, it could be avocado, it could be olive oil, butter, salad dressing, mayonnaise, nut butters like almond and peanut butter are good choices as well. So you're just using a little bit maybe to cook the meat that you're eating, maybe a little bit of salad dressing, maybe a little bit of mayo to kind of moisten things up. So we want you to use that sparingly. The focus is really on getting protein in. All right. So our next thing for you to remember is to chew, chew, chew. So we want you to chew a whole lot. So you're chewing 20 or 30 times per bite in the beginning because we want to slow down the eating process and not have you eat big chunks and big bites of things. And so we want you to take your time, eat nice and slowly. It'll probably take you, 20 or 30 minutes in the beginning to eat that little bit of food. And then the other thing is remember to stop when you feel satisfied, not full. So we want you to not, you shouldn't feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't feel like you're having pain in your belly. You shouldn't feel overfull. We want you to stop well before you get there. It's very common for people to eat until fullness or beyond after and just kind of go on autopilot when they start eating, maybe not the first few weeks, but maybe into the, let's say, third, fourth month. Every once in a while that will happen for somebody, or they'll pile their plate high up with food and sit down and like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I totally forgot. I can't eat that amount anymore. So we want you chewing and slowing down the eating process, stopping when you're satisfied versus full. The other thing that is super important and maybe relevant at this stage is that you might be eating more frequently. So you may be eating 3 meals and 3 snacks, or 3 meals and 2 snacks, or you might actually be adding or continuing with your protein shakes to make sure you're hitting your protein goals. I have some surgeons that they still recommend their patients to drink 2 protein shakes and then drink 2 protein shakes a day, and then eat food at meals in between. And each surgeon is going to be different as far as their recommendations. Each dietitian is going to be different, but you may need those more frequent meals and snacks to hit your goals. So what we try to do is we try to do with the snacks anywhere from 5 to 15 grams of protein with a snack, 5 to 15 grams of carbs with a snack. So that might be something like, a little bit of hummus with some, carrot sticks, raw carrot sticks. It could be a cheese stick with maybe 3 or 4 whole grain crackers. It could be maybe a 1/4 cup of cottage cheese with a few berries mixed in there. Nothing super big for snacks and stuff at this time, but you may need those because you are not going to be able to get enough protein with your meals. So make sure you're focusing on your protein goal and you're eating more frequently or drinking those protein shakes if you need them to hit that goal. The next thing is to remember to separate eating from drinking. What we've told you before is we have you stop drinking about 5 minutes before the meal. It should take you 20 to 30 minutes to eat that meal, and then you're always, 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 forever after surgery, going to wait a half hour after the meal before you drink anything. There are 3 reasons why. One, in the beginning, if you eat and drink together, you are probably going to be too full from the liquid to get in all the protein that you need. So we want to make sure you're getting in the protein that you need, and if you eat and drink together, that will get in the way, just like eating more carbs is probably going to get in the way as well. And then when they've done studies of people long term, what they found is that people, when they compare people that eat and drink together versus people that don't, the people that eat and drink together actually hold more food in their stomach. So they're able to eat more with their meals. So you didn't go through all of this to now be holding more food in your stomach, being able to eat more. And calorically, that means you're consuming more calories throughout the day. The other thing that happens is that when you eat and drink together, it doesn't sit in your stomach very long. It does, the majority of that does get digested, but your stomach is empty, so you end up being hungry again sooner. So if you're eating and drinking together, you might be eating more frequently versus, maybe if you didn't, you were eat 3 meals and 1 snack a day, but you're eating and drinking together and finding every 2 or 3 hours you're getting hungry. So with meals and snacks, we separate drinking from that forever after surgery. The other important thing to remember is to introduce new foods slowly. We've had people that have gotten in touch with us and said, I started my regular food diet and my stomach is so upset. I feel so full. I don't know what's happening. And we start talking about, what did you eat today? What did you eat yesterday? They try all sorts of new things. So don't do that. Over this next month, just slowly start introducing new things. So maybe with each meal, you're introducing one new thing. So you're separating that one new thing. So you eat that one new thing, chew it very well, let it go down, give it, I don't know, 5, 15, 20 minutes, see how it settles with you, and then go ahead and eat the rest of the meal. Sometimes it's just some certain foods just don't sit well with people, and everybody's different. It's not the same food for every person. Some people it might be steak, some people it might be lettuce, some people it might be broccoli, or it might be ground meat. So everyone's different. So take it nice and slow, chew very well, and give it time to settle and see how you do with that. And then there are specific things that we've noticed that give people difficulty. Like we talked about, those hard-boiled eggs tend to make people full. We talked about steak, but gummy starches, things like bread, rice, pasta, bread and pasta tend to form like a little gummy ball, and so those will feel heavy in people's stomachs. They'll make them really full. Sometimes they can feel like they're getting stuck. With rice, sometimes people will tell us it feels like it. They eat, a tablespoon of it and it seems to expand in their stomach. So introduce those foods slowly, chew them very well, give it some time to see how they set with you. The other group are raw veggies. And so maybe if something has a peel like an apple or a cucumber, maybe that doesn't sit well with you. So you want to make sure you're chewing that up really, really well, or you're peeling those things. The other thing that we tell people to be careful with is the string on a celery. Sometimes that just is not digested very well. So just be super careful with that. Make sure you're chewing things. All right, so that is what I would tell you to do as far as transitioning and starting to add new foods again. Do it slow, one thing at a time, see how it sets with you, and then move forward from there. All right, we've got a couple more things for you to remember before we get to those pro tips. So one is to stay hydrated. So our goal is 64 ounces calorie-free, caffeine-free liquid. At this point, if you are not getting 64 ounces a day, don't introduce your coffee back in yet. It may be killing you not to get your coffee, but you want to make sure that you are getting those 64 ounces calorie-free, caffeine-free liquid, because if you don't get all your protein and you don't get all your fluid, that can actually hinder your weight loss efforts. I know in the first 4 months it's really a struggle because you can only eat a little bit of food, you can only drink a little bit of liquid. Now you have to separate eating from drinking. Maybe you're eating meals and snacks, so it becomes a little bit more cumbersome in these first few months, but keep pushing through. It will get easier for you, all right? But make sure you're pushing towards that. I've seen people that are not getting enough fluid and they're not getting all their protein and their weight loss efforts are slowed down. Well, I don't want that to happen to you. You're going to lose the majority of your weight in that first 6 months after surgery. You'll probably keep losing for 9 months, a year. Some people lose even a year and a half after surgery, but the majority of what you'll lose is in that first 6 months. So you want to maximize your efforts during that time. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to tell you is to make sure you're taking your vitamins and minerals. It's a very important part of taking care of your body and being healthy, because you don't absorb everything that you're consuming. And if you're not getting vitamins and minerals in, that down the road, you won't notice it maybe in the first 6 months or a year or 2 years. It's farther down the road. You'll have weird random things happen. One member in our Facebook group was talking about a lady that she met that had had weight loss surgery 8 years ago. She didn't have any teeth. She had to have hip surgery. She had some other issues, and she never bothered to take the vitamins and minerals that she needed to take after surgery. What we generally recommend is a multivitamin with iron, calcium, citrate, and vitamin B12. So those are the three things that we tend to recommend. And if you're going back to your doctor, if your vitamin D is low, if your iron is low, other things are happening, they're going to make other recommendations for other things to keep you as healthy as possible. All right. All right. So those are the things that I wanted to tell you to make sure you get started off on the right foot. So now let me give you those two pro tips that I have seen with all of my successful patients and clients after weight loss surgery. The two things they do. Tip number one for you is to make sure that you are tracking what you're doing. So whether you write it down on paper, I don't think that's probably the most accurate way. I would actually recommend, if you have a smartphone or a tablet or a computer, what I would tell you to do is to download an app and track it in the app, because they make it super easy that you can just scan barcodes off of foods. You can put your own recipes in there and figure out serving sizes and how many portions there are from that. So those apps make it super easy. The one app that I see a lot of my patients using is called Bariatric. Or you can use something like MyFitnessPal, Lose It. There's another one called Macros. You can use any of those. Remember, we're focusing on making sure you're getting protein, and we're focusing on making sure you're getting fluid. So I don't care at this point about calories and carbs and fat so much. It's really to make sure you're hitting your protein goals and hitting your fluid goals. And in Bariatric, you can even track and set reminders so that you can take vitamins and stuff like that too. So you can put all of that in there. So that's what I would recommend. That's what I see with my successful patients doing. They're tracking what they're doing. So that's pro tip number one. Pro tip number two is to measure and read food labels. So protein foods like meat, chicken, fish, they have a nutrition label on there, but they don't measure it out by the portion size that you are eating. So what I would tell you to do is get a food scale. You can get a pretty cheap digital food scale on Amazon, anywhere else, and you can put your meats on there after you cook it, and then you'll know, so what you're looking for is like 3 to 4 ounces of meat. So 1 ounce of meat typically is about 7 grams of protein. So if you're doing 3 ounces, which is about the size of a deck of cards, that is going to give you, if 1 ounce is 7 grams, you just take 7 times 3, that's 21 grams of protein for that little 3 ounce piece of meat that you're eating. Okay, so you want to be able to track that and see what you're doing. So my people that are successful, they're tracking, they're weighing, they're using their measuring cups and measuring spoons to weigh and measure things out. They are also reading food labels. So they're getting familiar with what a food label looks like. I have a video on reading food labels. I'll link that in the description below if you're totally confused by that. But the main thing at this point you're looking for is you're looking for how much protein is in the serving that you are eating. So on that label, it will tell you the serving that they recommend, but you might not be eating that. So you want to be able to know how much protein you're getting for the food that you're eating. So let's say you're eating a slice of cheese. Usually a slice of cheese, when you look at the nutrition label on the back, normally a regular slice of cheese is 6 or 7 grams of protein per slice. If you eat a little cup of yogurt, you can look on that little cup of yogurt. Let's say a Greek yogurt, maybe it has 15 grams of protein, that Greek yogurt, but you only eat half of it. So then you would divide that in half and say, okay, if for my snack I got 7 grams of protein versus 15. So those are the things that my people that are successful are doing. So we want you tracking, weighing, measuring, reading food labels. That will set you off on the right course as you are navigating the next steps into this healthy lifestyle that you're building for yourself. All right. All right. So that's it. We gave you the important things to know to transition from those soft food diets and those other diets to real food again. And then I gave you those 2 pro tips. Last thing I'm going to do, I have got a freebie for you. That is in our description below. It's our top 5 strategies for success after weight loss surgery. So make sure you go down there, grab that link, and get started on the right foot. All right. Thank you so much for hanging in here with me, and I will see you again soon. All right. Take care. Bye.